Okay,
We've started.
it
Go.
started.
Are we live?
Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
All right. Welcome to the Children of the Lie podcast, guys. #1 podcast in all of Politogram. Presented by your host, Mixed Capitalist, alongside 3 other retards of the Marxist tradition. Mouthy Infidel, Porky, and Guarani Communists. And our eternal special guest, Son of Albion, who got zucked again and is not here.
Wait a second. Does Daniel call us retards in the intro?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just realized that.
What do you
I
think
was
I was
kinda-
calling you guys?
I don't know. I was kind of zoned out when you were given the intro, and I just noticed that you're called us retards.
Oh, like 5 times now?
Guys, stop using the R word.
Yeah, for real, man.
Yeah,
Go.
that's very ableist
It's
of you.
messed up, bro.
That's fucked
That's-
up. My name
that's
is Mixed. I'm Daniel. Mouthy. Everyone, everyone knows what's up. We're well known. We're up there with Joe Rogan. We're up there with
Yeah.
the Joe Rogan experience.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah. As always, there's always that one guy who never fucking speaks. Venice, what?
Yeah. Venice has never spoken in this podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Venice is a shadow.
He doesn't even exist.
Even now, Venice, can you say something? I think his mic is just broken.
I think the FBI got him.
I think for like 5 episodes now, his mic has just not been working.
Dude, the FBI
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
came.
The FBI got him, guys.
Bro, he got like John.
I think
Bro.
Venice is probably 100% on a watch list.
Yeah.
After somebody reported him for the 9/11 comment.
Wait, what comment? What?
Someone said like, you're so disrespectful against America, blah, blah, and he's like, dude, America is bad and blah blah. And the guy said like, you will never be able to defeat America. It's impossible. And like Venice said, just a few 9/11s will do the work, do the job. Brother.
And then somebody reported him to the FBI.
And he's like, I'm reporting you to the FBI.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, fam.
Oh,
He
Venice
died.
was-
He's gone. He's gone.
No, he's gone. Where the fuck is he?
He's gone.
he was like
He disappeared.
he was like
Okay.
Bro,
really
the
fake
FBI
and
got him
fucking-
now.
Okay, so this is a 3-man episode now.
I'd welcome to the Children of the Lie podcast, #1 in all of Politogram, presented by your host, Mixed
Oh, he's back.
Capitalist,
Hello, guys.
Mixed Capitalist,
Oh,
Are you
Mouthy
kidding me?
Infidel,
did
and
the
Porky.
FBI let you go?
What?
You've got to be kidding me.
The FBI let you go.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Did
Yeah,
you
they did.
escape? Did
Have
you
I
escape?
unknowingly been muted?
Why do you have
Like,
me?
I
as
heard
a
you guys
puppet?
talking about that. I just wanted to scream. Oh my god, I punched my phone.
What are you fucking? Are you fucking retarded?
Venice is on the run from the authorities.
Can we continue? Can we leave this?
Yeah, right now he's like in Cambodia.
I like
He's
you,
on the-
Venice, but I'm not hiding you in my shower, man.
No!
I'm sorry, man.
Just,
Okay,
You
just
can
hide him
you can
under
hide
his house.
Venice. You can hide in my second summer house.
Yeah, that's... Well, maybe you shouldn't say it live, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right. Shit, sorry. I mean third.
Go.
I mean my.
Oh,
third.
too late. Too late. Fucking
What?
retards.
What?
What?
Why the fuck are you angry?
No, just continue. Continue the podcast.
Venice
Move
is
on to the
inbred.
next topic. Move on.
You know,
Actually,
you know,
probably
Venice.
am. There are there are like 40,000 of us living in that like tiny mountainous province. I am 100% inbred.
Venice.
Yes.
Venice. Venice.
Yes.
Venice.
Did you just admit
introduce
to being?
yourself?
What?
Introduce yourself, Venice.
Yeah, my name is Guarani Communist, and I hate everyone in this call.
Okay.
Wait, did Venice?
Yeah, Venice
just
is an
deny that he was a
anti-Semite.
product
I'm
of
just
incest?
joking. I'm just joking. I love you guys.
Venice
Venice
just
is an
admitted live.
anti-Semite. Okay,
Uh,
what's the first topic? God.
okay, honk honk meme.
Oh,
Okay, first topic, God. Okay, God isn't real. Welcome to our next. Welcome.
Wait,
Can
can
to
you
our
justify?
80th
Can you
podcast.
justify? Can you falsify the Christian God?
Can you falsify the Christian God?
Bro, can you falsify?
Can you
the
falsify that
Christian-
I fucked your mom?
I can. She tells me everything, and she didn't come.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does your so your mom tells you? I shouldn't be
Everything.
saying that. I shouldn't be saying this
Everything.
live. I shouldn't be saying this live. I shouldn't be saying this in a public format. Okay, moving on.
Okay. I have like
Okay.
2 people who might join, by the way.
Okay, well, sure, just add them. Okay, Hong Kong.
Those
meme.
people are not there. Okay,
Hong Kong.
it's a Nazi meme.
Okay. Next topic.
What's the next topic?
Dude, okay, listen. The Hong Kong meme might be fucking Nazi, but I low key really like the song.
Yeah, the song is real good.
Right? Like the
Yeah. It's sad how fascists stole it from us.
If I play this
a
song,
real
are we
good-
gonna get copyrighted?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Okay.
If this actually
on.
gets taken down,
Listen,
I'm blaming Mix.
that's a 5 second rules. Under 5 seconds, we don't get demonetized.
Are you sure?
Okay.
Are you sure?
Are we? Wait, have you monetized this account?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you're not extracting surplus value.
He's a
from us.
communist, dude.
What do you mean? What's surplus value? From who?
Fuck.
From us, the
From
laborers,
the
the workers.
capitalists. Oh,
Oh,
Which
okay.
is a
We're
YouTube
producing. We're
production.
producing all of the podcast. Yet, Mouthy is extracting surplus value from us.
He's
He's
not.
Yeah, that's-
monetizing the video.
He's not.
That-
He's a communist. He doesn't have money. No.
Okay, communists can't make money. Confirmed.
Should
That's
we make
fine.
merch?
Should
Sure,
we
they
make
don't
what?
know I'm merch.
You know, like
you critique
like-
society, yet you participate in society.
before
Hypocrite, yeah.
communists get their wage, they're asked if they're communist or not, and if they say yes, they just don't get a wage.
Exactly.
Honestly, I'd like to live in that world.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
no.
Back to the honk. meme.
Guys,
I think we have to
hold
explain
on.
that.
Okay, sure.
The honk meme. Well, was it started by the video, or was the video a creation of it?
No, it was like in 2017 or something. It was real old, and it was basically this meme that we're living in a clown world, that men are becoming women and women are becoming men, that this is a circus run by Israel or Jews, and basically Western civilization is collapsing and everyone is like happy about it, and only clowns can run the world or whatever.
Well, I think that in large part we do live in a clown world.
Of course.
Can we kick
but
him?
not in the way that.
No, not in the way
Well,
that the alt-righters are
Yeah,
saying it.
exactly.
Yeah, like
Of-
for example, statues of Stalin are getting re-erected. I think that's very clown. I
You
think that's very clown.
tread carefully when you're portraying.
Well, I think
I
that,
think that. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
yeah, I think
know what
that
happened
it's
to
very
Michael?
undeniable that we live in a world which is very corrupt in a lot of ways. And I would agree that we live in a clown world, but I think that the alt-right has a terrible habit of diagnosing the causes of our current societal ills in a very surface level, skin deep way. So, like, for example, I think that fascists like to point out all of this degeneracy without really trying to realize the symptom, which is the capitalist superstructure, which gave rise to this materialism and fetishization of commodity in the first place, etc. And even like the corporatists who, argue like, oh, we do hate capitalism too, so debunked Marxist, they still base their societal views off of the confines of bourgeois ideology and base their views off of essentially bourgeois constructions, and corporatism is essentially just a extension of the capitalist mode of production. And so I think that that's a bait and switch that fascists like to play a lot. Like, oh, we hate the bourgeoisie too. Like, okay, then you just don't understand what your actual position is.
Can we get the
Guys.
pseudo intellectual out of this podcast?
Okay, goodbye.
No, I'm just joking.
Don't actually.
I mean, like, obviously, I don't agree to full part with your analysis, but
Mhm.
I mean, like, it's a lot more. How do I say? A lot more deep than like, yeah, fucking
Deep.
Jews. Am I right?
Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Because we all know that the Jews run the world. I mean, like,
oh,
that's
of
just-
course.
Oh, bro,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, guys.
We all know that.
haven't you guys read the book Elders of Zion? Like, obviously.
Listen, long live
We all
Israel.
know that. We all know that the Jews are just advancing their ethnocentric interests, despite the fact that the Jewish population is falling, which by alt-right standards means genocide, and they have the highest intermarriage rate of like any ethnic group there is, man.
I
But of
agree.
Okay, like low key
We-
in Israel, kind of.
I pledge my allegiance to Israel.
Well, the thing is that like the alt-right likes to make this conspiracy theory about like Jews and how Jews, They want to
Jews.
advance Jewish interests, but they want to undermine like Western culture by encouraging immigration, but not in Israel. But the problem is these same leftist Jews that they speak of overwhelmingly supported Ethiopian immigration into Israel. So it
Yeah,
just
but they
seems
treat
like,
Ethiopians like shit in
Checkmate.
Israel.
well,
Yeah, but I mean,
we're
like
not
the
talking
leftists
about,
supported him.
yeah, we're talking about like the liberal
Yeah,
secular
of course. I
Jews
just mean that like
Mhm.
all the how to say Jewish conspiracies that the alt right has.
Mhm.
I think what they're doing is they're observing some of
They're
the
true.
acts of Israel and then attributing it to all Jews. Like it's
Mhm.
not a hidden it's not hidden. It's not a conspiracy theory to say that modern day Israel is essentially an apartheid state.
Right,
Like
exactly.
that's
That's
pretty much a
fact.
fact. That is
Yeah.
factual.
That's
But
factual.
then the problem with the alt right and their analysis is, oh, okay, therefore all Jews are like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
Which
they bring
is
up a lot
yeah.
of like, in the U.S. they bring up like Sigmund Freud, and they bring up all of these intellectuals and make the claim that Jewish intellectuals are trying to undermine Western culture by advancing like these left-wing interests which hurt white people. But like the
Yeah.
problem is, I saw a study, Kaufness, 2018. Which found that Jews are actually also overrepresented in right-wing intellectual movements that aren't overtly anti-Semitic. So, like, it's not just a matter of them supporting left-wing intellectual movements because it advances their interests. They just are involved with intellectual movements in general.
No, yeah, totally. And we can see this I don't want to bring like racial biology into this, but it's like Jews are statistically have a lot higher verbal IQ.
Right. Yeah.
Or what is that called again? It's called whatever.
Jews are superior. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a higher IQ on average. I think like the verbal IQ of an Ashkenazi Jew is around 115,
Right. Yeah.
as
Exactly.
opposed to the
Malfi.
average of 100.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you look at it on the basis of historical analysis, Jews in the 20th century were very heavily concentrated, European Jews, in urban centers like Berlin, Frankfurt, Paris, New York, etc. And these areas tended to have the infrastructure to support intellectual achievement. So even without talking about IQ, you'd still expect Jews to be in these positions of intellectual development and so on. It
Yeah,
seems
no.
our guest arrived. We have a
Who's
guest
this?
now. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh,
Is
he's
that
muted.
who the fuck is that?
It's some guest, Matthias.
You invited him. He's muted though.
His camera
Oh,
is
I thought
Samsung.
someone like came over to your house.
No,
No.
Like I guessed. Okay, who is this?
Dude.
Oh,
your
fuck!
camera is
I
garbage.
meant to turn off the
Oh,
camera. and I
okay.
muted it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Malfi, what's
Epic.
up?
This
Nice.
is California Social Dem.
What's up,
Okay.
California Social Dem? I think we've
Keynesian?
spoken once.
Are you a Keynesian?
All right,
He's
what's
probably
your
Keynesian.
politogram's name?
A
Are you
mixed
a Keynesian?
capitalist.
Oh yeah. I'll see where we've spoken. I just got off a huge argument on Israel with pragmatic politics. He was just a dick and spammed clown emojis. I'm sorry, I don't get
Oh.
the whole clown emojis thing.
We were just
What the
talking
We were
fuck?
just
We were
talking-
literally
Okay.
just talking about Hong Kong and Israel.
Okay.
Bro, this truly is a
Interesting.
clown.
I don't know
We should
shit
talk.
about that
Wait, what's your
relationship.
stance on Israel?
Wow.
Wait, what's your Instagram name?
Me,
Yeah.
He already said that.
California.socialdem.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think we've talked before.
What's your
Wait,
stance
what?
on Israel?
I suck.
What? No, I think we've talked before.
Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna follow you. I
I'm
just followed
looking.
you.
I'm checking.
We haven't, but I just followed you.
Cool.
Are you a
Oh,
Keynesian?
that's fun. Yes, I am.
Bro, that's a
Are
lot.
you a Keynesian?
I'm not familiar with the theory.
Okay, I'm
bro.
sorry.
Supply
This is a terrible inside joke we have.
So what were we talking about? Okay, let's hear.
All right.
Let's
All
hear
right.
California Social Dem's take on clown emojis in Israel.
Yes.
I don't get the use of clown emojis. It's like a new level of rejection of cognitive dissonance. You're I like being condescending and posting things on someone's page like imagine thinking supply side is a valid economic theory. That is
It
a
fucking
level of
is. It
condescending that
fucking is.
implies
Oh my
something.
god.
The clown emoji, the clown emoji has no meaning. Like we have assigned meaning to it, but it's not even an argument that can trigger someone. It's just a fucking emoji. Now Israel. Netanyahu fucked that guy. Benny Gantz all the way. Not all the way. But I'm pro-Israel. This is something that I believe I can argue.
Can I just ask one thing?
Let's hear mixed
Sure.
debate. California Social Dem on Israel.
Can I
Yes.
ask something?
Yes.
Oh no.
Are you a
Are you-
Keynesian?
No.
I'm just joking.
I wasn't gonna say that. Okay. listen. Do you
Am I?
happen to be Jewish?
What gave you that impression? My fucking name?
This is
My fucking
I don't know.
name?
Is that a Jewish name? I was joking. Is that actually a Jewish name?
What's your name? What's
Yes,
your name?
the land of Canaan is what it was called before it was called Israel.
Now
It's
when
pretty
everybody's
Jewish,
pro-Israel.
though.
I'm sorry. I was trying to joke around like, oh, if you're pro-Israel, you're Jewish. But I'm sorry. I didn't
But he's
mean to, like-
actually Jewish.
Yeah, I genuinely
all
didn't
the
expect him to
Nazis just
actually.
have
I'm
an
sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
so
don't know
What do
what
you
you
mean?
just
I'm
asked. Sorry.
Why are you
So-
sorry?
lay out why you think you're pro-Israel.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, the
Nice.
This guy's
the
awful.
media has painted PragerU, but their graphics on Israel are somewhat accurate. For example, so I'm in Israel right now. Just the other day, Hamas fired 700 fucking rockets at Israel, and all anyone reported on was that that quote Israel is continuing the cycle of violence in Hamas. There was a good sizable majority of Americans who genuinely believe that Israel is occupying Hamas, which is not true. The UN Human Rights Council is dominated by Arab countries and China, who are huge human rights abusers, and they hate Israel. So the UN Human Rights Council has been brainwashing Americans and people around the world into being anti-Israel. And Human Rights Watch has been producing all the group Human Rights
You cut out.
Watch
Hello?
has been producing all of these reports on what Israel is doing, and it has been.
You keep cutting out.
You keep cutting out.
Hello?
You keep
Yeah, you
cutting
keep
out.
cutting
Hi. Can I just respond
Hello?
to the very first thing you said about the 700 Hamas rockets?
I'm here. Can you? Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that. Okay, so I think a lot of the narrative, which maybe we're seeing different news outlets, but a lot of the narrative that I was seeing from news outlets was like, oh, unprovoked, like 500 plus rockets from Hamas to targets in Israel. But I think that this is actually false because it wasn't unprovoked. This was actually response to an incident that happened the Friday before the actual rockets fired. 12 people in Gaza were shot by IDF soldiers, and the Hamas actually did that as a response to that. And one of the people that actually died was a 19-year-old.
Okay, a couple things.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to finish with the statements I'm making, but first I'm going to say one, no, it was mostly they wanted to pressure Israel into letting Qatar so Qatar wanted to fund Hamas, and Israel wasn't letting that funding go through. So they wanted to pressure Israel into allowing the money from Qatar through. 2, Hamas uses child soldiers. The fact that a child is 19 is misleading. 3, what I was saying about the UN Human Rights Council and the group Human Rights Watch, they are both extremely anti-Israel. Human Rights Watch considers Hamas riflemen to be, quote, peaceful protesters. The UN Human Rights Council is dominated by China, is dominated by Saudi Arabia, is dominated by Iran, all of whom are huge human rights abusers. And the Arab countries have come together in a bloc in that council to produce anti-Israel reports and bring condemnations against Israel, even though no one seriously believes that China, Saudi Arabia, Arabia or Iran is any better on human rights than Israel. In fact, they are exponentially worse. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. It's the only country that allows all citizens to vote. It's the only country that guarantees
That's actually not. That's
basic
actually
human
factually
rights.
not
Actually
true.
not true.
That is factually not true. Israel does
Who-
not allow
who-
all citizens to vote. They only allow citizens that have partaken in military service to vote.
They don't allow Arab citizens to vote.
No, they don't allow people who have not gone through military service to vote.
Where did you hear that?
That is literally like people that don't go through military service literally are not allowed to vote.
Yeah, I'm gonna check up on that.
Okay.
later.
And also another thing, Palestinian people are either not allowed to serve.
that because plenty of Arabs vote and run for office.
What?
Yeah, no, of course. I'm
What?
not saying that
What?
Arabs are not allowed to. You guys even have like an Arab party, kind of.
Yes.
Am I not mistaken? You guys have like, yeah. But the problem is, in Israel, you're not allowed to vote unless you have served in the military. And Palestinian Israeli citizens are actually either discouraged to serve in the military, or obviously Palestinian Israeli citizens obviously do not want to serve the Israeli military because they're literally killing their own brothers. And essentially, if you don't serve in the military, you're not allowed to vote. So this is a very indirect way of not letting a lot of Palestinians not vote.
Okay, I'm looking this up right now, but I would defend that. I would say that, I'm not necessarily a supporter of the draft, but Israel has a draft.
Sure. Yeah.
And while you're exempt, well, certain citizens are exempt from a draft. If you still want to say, look, if this is a civic service in our country, if it's not, if you're not forced to do this civic service and you do not choose to, not get the right to vote. Now, I don't think we should do that in the U.S., obviously, but I don't think it justifies in any way being anti-Israel. Israel is still has the most human rights of any country in the Middle East. And there are those calling it an apartheid state, which is ridiculous. Like 75% of the population in Israel is Jewish, and an apartheid state is inherently a minority oppressing a majority. Furthermore, there is not a direct oppression of Arabs. There is a fight against people in Gaza and against the West Bank in some situations, but there is not a direct oppression of Arabs in Israel. Now, obviously, there's racism, but there's also racism in America.
I would like to bring up a few points. There is direct and extreme oppression of Arabs, not inside Israeli borders. Well, I mean, like it depends on how you draw the borders, but let's say outside. For example, we've seen the border wall around Gaza that's been going on for a decade now. That is so terrible that you.
So
yeah?
just wait. Sorry. First of all, just looked it up. The what do you call it? It's not that it's the Brookings Institution. The Arabs are allowed to vote, but if they're voting for even without serving, but if the party they are voting for is openly again for the destruction of the Israeli state, the vote does not count. Now, which would be the same if they were Jewish Israelis, which would be the same if they were any sort of voter.
Yeah,
So
but you're
can
not
you
allowed
really
to vote
say
unless
that-
you have served.
So can you really say that it's a democracy if the government has a monopoly over the opinions that you are allowed to have if you're going to vote?
What?
Can you really say it's a democracy if the government controls the opinions you're allowed to have if you can vote?
I'd say yes. I think it definitely has some restrictions on freedom of speech, but then again, who doesn't? So I would still call it a democracy. Yes, it's not a perfect democracy. Neither is the U.S. Neither are most democracies around the world. Furthermore, I would like a source on that. You have to have served in the military to be able to vote. I would like to hear a citation on that. And I think more than that, even if you bring up all this criticism of Israel, the fact still remains that Israel is getting a disproportionate amount of criticism for the things it brings about. They're calling Israel an quote apartheid state. They're saying they systematically oppress the Palestinians and massacre them.
They kind of do, though.
These same people, okay, we'll get to that in a second, but these same people have no issue with they never talk about what China is doing to the Muslims, what Myanmar is doing to the Rohingya minority. They never talk about what Saudi Arabia is doing in Yemen. They never talk about what Iran is doing to their own citizens. They never talk about what I'm pretty sure Turkey does some bad shit too. So there is definitely a disproportionate amount of time spent on this.
Nice.
Now,
I don't think that's a
What?
proper argument.
it's not an argument as to why Israel is good. It's just a request for examination of biases and time spent on criticisms.
Sure, but I think
Now,
that the reason why we spend so much time on Israel is because they are quote unquote a democracy, or they are quote unquote westernized. I think that we hold a higher standard on Israel because they are closer to us. That's why,
Yeah,
for example, we
yeah.
spend more time in Israel than we do in North Korea, even though it's like North Korea arguably oppresses their citizens a lot worse.
No.
Yeah, but no one's calling them. There's no, for example, there's no active protests of Saudi Arabia and us to divest from Saudi Arabia, even though they're horrible. Even though they're promoting the war in Yemen, they're promoting famine in a way that's going to be even worse than the Holocaust. 18 million
I
Yemenis
agree
are
with you on that.
starving and dying. And
I 100%
and
agree with you. I
furthermore-
think that we should
furthermore-
be treating Saudi
and
Arabia
furthermore,
the same
it's-
way that I treat Israel.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, and
I give you that
furthermore, it's not just that. It's that the UN Human Rights Council is spending so much time on it. They're not condemning China. They're not condemning Saudi Arabia. 20 condemnations of Israel in a year. That is insane compared to what these other countries are getting. And they put China, they put Saudi Arabia, they put Iran on that council of human rights. That is insane.
That is sickening. I agree with you 100%. I think
Okay,
that the
now
fact that a country like Sweden isn't on the council, but that China and Saudi Arabia is, I think it's very fucked.
Okay, now I want to hear some examples of Israel oppressing Palestinians.
Okay.
Now, keep in
Yes,
mind
if
when
we go on, Matthew. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, the pretty obvious one is the fact that there's the Israel has a border around Gaza, which you're only allowed to enter or leave if you're a citizen of Israel. They systematically control imports and exports, such as water and food. They routinely kill peaceful protesters and children.
let me stop you right there.
Well,
Let me stop you right there. Let me
generals
stop you right there.
of Israel have come out. Well,
That
I
is
know you're going
incredibly
to. No, it's not, because I know
Okay.
that you're going to say that this is misleading because the Human Rights Commission, says that snipers are peaceful protesters. But let's not even take their definition. Israeli generals have come out, and this was a recent report. Israel
Yeah.
generals have come out and reported that they were instructed to shoot at unarmed children.
Yes, and also not only Israeli generals have also come out and saying that the condition in Gaza is so fucked, we should be doing something, but that the actual State Department, like the actual state itself, the government, is saying that no. The actual generals within the military are saying that the conditions are so fucked in Gaza.
Is Israel providing aid to Gaza? Okay. Well, a couple things. One.
What?
What happened?
One. I'm here. One. I mean, I'd have to look into the claims the generals made, but I'd be skeptical of it just because.
Huh?
Okay. I would. Sorry. Sorry. My roommate's talking at me. I'd be skeptical of what the generals say simply because I know that so much of what Israel, is criticized for is misleading. But, I do think the IDF has discipline issues. They've definitely killed children when they shouldn't have been, but the civilian casualty rate is we can, I think we can consider that area a war zone is relatively low. For compared to the U.S. and Iraq, the U.S. and Vietnam, the U.S. in so many other places and so many other countries. Now that doesn't make it justified, but it again it's in a request to examine biases when you apply a criticism. The killing of children thing. One, Hamas stores their weapons in public places. Two, Hamas fires hundreds of rockets at Israeli citizens. I have a friend here. She has to sleep in her bomb shelter now, and she has to take her kids out of school and bring them to work because of the rockets Hamas fired. Furthermore, Hamas uses child soldiers over the age of 16. and a lot of the aid, the money and aid being sent to Gaza is immediately seized by Hamas.
Under the age of 16.
Yeah, actually, even under the age of 16. Sorry, under the age of 16, child soldiers, and a lot of the money and resources being sent to Gaza is immediately seized by Hamas because Hamas was the elected government, is
Okay.
the elected government in Gaza, and Israel is trying to extend rights to people in Gaza, but it's hard when they elect terrorists.
Absolutely not.
And,
Absolutely
yeah.
not.
Oh,
Absolutely
no.
not.
And-
That is false.
and-
Okay, a few things.
And
Oh my
like
God.
for example, recently they extended the rights of Gazan fishermen and stuff, and they provide for roads and stuff in Gaza. They are not there's definitely discipline issues in the IDF, but they are not trying to
That
oppress
doesn't really
Gaza.
matter when you literally ban things from entering and exiting Gaza, when you literally restrict the flow of water into Gaza, clean water, when you restrict the access to electricity, when you restrict the access to 3G and Wi-Fi, when you restrict the access to basic food groups, when you restrict the access to economic development, I think that by far, even let's say the Israelis are trying to do something good, by far the negatives outweigh the positives by a lot.
Okay, so maybe that's an issue, but I would ask you to find out
Maybe, man.
where maybe because Hamas seizes so much of these resources.
Why do you
Hamas
think Hamas
eat-
exists?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to bring up. Like, you can't really talk about the atrocities of Hamas without, you're completely denying the fact that Israel created the space for Hamas and this radicalism to exist in the first place. I mean, they are the
not at all, not at all, not at
There's no
all.
symmetry in
No.
the situation. They're the military occupiers. They created
Okay.
the situation for this radicalism to exist.
Why do you
just
think
like
people
US
elected
did in
Hamas?
Iraq and the Middle East in general?
Well, I mean, I'm a leftist. I agree with you generally that imperialism creates terrorism, but I'll point to a couple of things. One, in the West, so the Palestinian Authority is not good at all either. They are not nearly they're basically terrorists, but they're not nearly as bad as Hamas. I don't know what that person is saying.
Oh my
But,
God, Venice.
I think that's
Shut the
Venice's
fuck up.
problem.
Okay.
Venice.
In the West Bank, they have the Palestinian Authority. Hamas drove the Palestinian Authority out of Gaza. Furthermore, the Palestinians could have elected the Palestinian Authority. Furthermore, Israel is not occupying Gaza. That is not happening. They are restricting the flow of resources to Gaza for fear of Hamas seizing it, but
The
They are
UN has
not
declared it an
occupying Gaza.
open prison.
It's literally
The
an open
largest
prison.
in the world. And second of all, like,
The people cannot leave Gaza.
yeah. And second of all, you have to, like, again, I mean, you kind of just said that imperialism creates terrorism, and then you talked about the terrorism of Hamas and how bad it is and how that justifies the Israeli treatment of Hamas. Well, you earlier, before you talk about all of this terrorism, you just laid out the foundation for my argument and conceded it, which is that though this terrorism of Hamas might be bad and create all this trouble, you have to look at the fact that Hamas was the people like Hamas, because Hamas is extremely radical and extremely violent. And they wouldn't be attracted to these extremely radical, violent ideas if they weren't massively transgressed upon in this illegal military occupation, which the UN considers an open prison. Like, I mean, you have to put things into context. You know what I mean?
They stopped occupying Gaza in 2005. They actually provided Gaza with clean water and food and everything until 2010. And they offered Gaza a deal. They said, stop firing rockets at us and we'll keep giving you clean water.
Absolutely
And
not. That deal
Hamas kept
did
firing
not go
rockets at
down
them.
like that. Absolutely not. That is not true whatsoever. The deal was a lot more nuanced than that. And no, that is not how the deal went down. Also, not to mention that the Israeli occupation in Gaza still goes on today. The only difference is that now, instead of having active IDF soldiers roaming through the streets all the time, you have a giant border fence surrounding it.
Yes, because there are terrorists there. Funny how
No,
that
you're
works.
calling innocent women and children terrorists.
Like
There are literally terrorist organizations, but let's say there's a terrorist organization in like Delaware. Are you going to build a fucking huge wall around Delaware?
Well, Delaware is part of the U.S. If Delaware was not part of the U.S., then yes, we would. No, I do think.
Yeah,
that
which is
Egypt,
imperialism,
I do
which you
think,
just conceded creates terrorism. So is that really a good idea from your perspective?
I think that Egypt should. I think that Egypt should lend a hand. I think that Egypt should take in a lot of Gazans, especially into the Sinai, because there's a lot of overcrowding in Gaza. The Gazans don't want to move to Israel. They don't want
Because
to.
Gazans want to stay home where they were born and raised.
Okay, then stop electing terrorists.
Okay, but then stop oppressing
Yeah,
the
but why?
Palestinians.
Yeah,
Yes.
why are they
Okay,
electing terrorists?
Okay, mouthy. Okay.
Okay.
The Israelis stopped their occupation in 2005 for 5 more years, provided them with roads, clean water, and food, and all they asked in
So they
return
provided
was that
living
the
conditions for
rockets.
the open prison they run. That's pretty. That's
epic.
pretty merciful, man.
Yes, given. Okay, take Iraq. So not even that. They stopped occupying Gaza, which never had sovereignty, by the way. They stopped occupying Gaza, 2005.
Yeah, never had
They
sovereignty.
said, they said, even though we didn't owe you any of this, we are now going to give you clean water and food.
Wait. No. Israel wasn't
They
supplying
got
water.
rockets
They were
fired at them by
allowing water to
Hamas,
go in.
the elected government. Okay, then they say
No.
stop.
No, dude. Not only you're making it sound like they were giving them charity. They're
Yeah.
not giving them charity. They're saying now, okay, we're just not gonna allow other people to give you fresh water.
If I lock you in my basement and like allow you to drink from my sink, that's not me giving you water.
Okay,
Like my problem is that we keep going back on this circle.
I mean,
It's like you say like we say like, well, the Israeli is oppressing Palestine, and you're like no, because there's terrorists in Palestine. And then you have to look at the context which allowed those terrorists to exist, which is, you admitted, is imperialism. This oppression of Palestinians in the first place created this radicalization, which gave rise to these terrorist organizations, as you admitted earlier on in this discussion. And now you're trying to say that like it's somehow the Palestinians' fault that this terrorism exists and that this is justification for Israel's actions. I just don't get like it seems like you're contradicting yourself a little bit.
Hello?
Hello, Porky.
Also, like, you really like to point like at Iran and Saudi Arabia and Hamas. I mean, but we're actually talking about what Israel is doing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I to a certain extent, I kind of agree with the, I guess, he left. Okay. I kind of agree with the Marxist analysis in which like the material conditions that actually create the situation. And I think that if
Comrade Daniel.
No, okay, listen. Not on that point, but I mean like Hamas only exists because of the material conditions that Israel has put the Palestinian people through. This is why you don't get people like, do you think that if Israel wasn't oppressing the Palestinian people, they would be voting for Hamas? No, I think that's ridiculous.
No.
Yes, because they're just evil because they're Palestinian. Man.
They're just
dude.
evil, dude.
Dude, Muslims just like
God.
want to destroy Israel, bro.
They just want to kill everyone, then.
Yeah,
really, dude. Like the argument of like that, the terrorists exist, and therefore this justifies Israeli occupation. This would be like if I approached a stranger and like started like beating them like mercilessly, and then they fought back, and I took them fighting back and said, well, now I'm morally justified in killing them because they're fighting back from my initial attack. You know what I mean?
Also, like,
I
like how he said like okay, sure, a few children got sniped, but I mean, things happened. It's war.
Hey, Californian
yes, because that happens in America. Now let's yes, for some reason I got cut off. Let's get back to it. One, there's an autonomous water source in Gaza provided by Israel. Two, Israel provides the PA in the West Bank with roads.
Okay, and prisons provide amenities to their prisoners. That does not mean that they're not prisoners.
You're glitching really bad right now, dude.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
How is Gaza a prison? Tell me how Gaza's.
What?
Because
I'm
people-
sorry.
Gaza is literally a
people
prison
are-
because there's a
You glitched
huge wall surrounding it, not allowing people to go in and out unless you have an Israeli citizenship. And guess what? They don't give Israeli citizenships to the vast, vast, vast majority of Palestinians living in Gaza. The UN has declared it the world's largest open-air prison in the world. When you have a giant wall surrounding an area and you don't let people go in and out, and you restrict the imports of like almost everything from like potato chips to ginger, what do you call that?
Okay, so let's do two things. Considered by the UN. Okay, I have very well documented by the UN is not able from which these reports are derived is controlled by human rights abusers. Two.
Okay, sure, but even if
Two.
we don't look at what the
Well,
UN
two.
says,
Two.
just
Let me
logically
say the second thing. Let me say the second thing. Two. Hamas controls Gaza, and the Gazans do not want to leave. Now, I would like to see Egypt
why
take in
would the
some
Gazans
Gazans
leave?
to the.
Why would the
Yeah.
Gazans leave if they were born and raised there? Why
Oh,
don't the people in
okay.
Tel Aviv want to leave?
Okay,
And
so
can we
taking down the wall
stop
wouldn't do anything.
appealing?
So
Can we please
taking
stop
down the
appealing
wall.
to terrorism as justification when we've already established that this terrorism arose out of imperialism in the first place?
The
Can you-
Israeli
can-
occupation of Gaza?
No, can we stop appealing to terrorism as justification for imperialism when you've already admitted that imperialism is the predecessor to terrorism?
No, but it's just the Palestinians' fault because they're Palestinian.
Bro, like
That's
they
true.
want to kill
Yeah,
us.
it's the Arab genes, bro.
Okay. I just don't see like how pointing out that Hamas exists justifies anything.
Yeah.
Did he leave again?
I think
What?
his internet is dying again
I think it's
Yeah.
in fine.
because he's clearly not doing like he's not leaving with free will.
I just want to point out that yes, Gaza is an open air prison. It is a place in which imports and exports are restricted. It is a place in which people are not free. There is a giant border surrounding it in which you cannot leave. If that is not the very definition of an open air prison, I do not know
I
what it is.
think
Oh no,
I think his
Dude.
internet's just really bad.
dude, Hamas got to him.
That's terrible. Don't say that.
Oh my god, imagine if Iraq just froze.
Hamas is just
Oh,
collecting their
no.
John money.
No,
bro.
Porky, don't say that. That's terrible. Porky, don't. Porky is our resident psychopath. He will laugh at anything.
Dude, Porky's so crazy. He killed Michael, man.
Yeah, he just
think-
went over to Ohio and killed. Multi,
Dude,
that was
Mix,
such a
were
good
you-
meme, bro.
Were you there when me and Venice actually convinced the entire group chat that
Oh,
Porky
no, I
killed
wasn't. I
Michael?
was asleep.
That was such a good meme.
Dude, they were freaking out so hard. They were like, "Whoa!"
Dude, he dared to oppose me. Okay, he challenged me to debate and he died. Okay.
predecessor to anti. That is not what I said.
Anti-Semitism.
Not what I
Wait,
said.
wait.
You're
What'd you?
smearing me.
Are you
Did
talking?
he call
as
us
the wall.
anti-Semites?
Wait, okay.
No,
he's
I
done
don't think he
talking.
called us anti-Semite.
Dude, I
Let's
think
let him
he's-
respond to what we were saying.
Let him respond. Kanan, we're sorry.
Okay, yeah,
And he left.
He just leave like.
He didn't
What is
hear
this?
any of that. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Okay,
Kanan,
he's back.
hi. Hi,
Crap.
please,
Where
please
did I cut out that time?
You were arguing why
heard
Gaza
nothing.
isn't a prison.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the
Awesome.
last thing that was said was that I said you should stop appealing to terrorism as justification for imperialism when you've already admitted that imperialism is the predecessor to terrorism, and then you cut out. And we were talking about Gaza being an open-air prison, as Mix pointed out.
Okay, I think we should like if this continues, we can't.
Conceded the
like-
What is this Middle Eastern internet?
Okay.
Are we going to talk about this the entire?
Okay,
No,
yeah.
we can.
we have
to
can
move on.
to something else.
Ask-
We can
we
move
have
on.
to we have to move on, and his internet is like we.
Some
Yeah.
real socialist stuff.
I'm not a socialist. I'm a capitalist. I'm a libertarian capitalist.
I'm a
He's a
libertarian
Keynesian.
capitalist too.
So am
I'm a socialist capitalist.
I am not
Yes,
a
Marxist.
socialist because I believe in the price system.
Ah,
Also, are you
no,
are you
active
Keynesian?
libertarian.
Are you?
I
dude, he's dying. Dude, what the fuck is happening?
Supply side economics is based.
So just don't use it on me.
what did you say?
We
So my. No,
What?
The very existence of our economic system right now debunks it. The fact that so much money is being spent on CEO bonuses and stock buybacks
Oh
on
my
the
God.
supply side can't possibly work.
Wait.
What
is
is happening?
You just start talking about supply side economics.
Your voice just went like really fast. Like
You got
cut out.
real mad. What
Me?
is happening?
Your
Dude, you're
voice just
cutting
went
off.
like machine gun.
We
like you
heard you
cut off.
talking about
My
Islam
voice just
during
went-
economic.
Me?
It kind of
Yeah.
went like "Rah," the bullets going to the
Oh,
children.
okay. I said the very existence of our current economic system means
Yeah.
that supply side could not possibly work with the trillions being spent on CEO bonuses and stock buybacks as proof that they're not really going into creating more jobs.
Oof. What's your response, Mixed?
What? No, absolutely not. What are you talking about? Where do you think the money that the CEOs get? Where do you think that goes?
Into their bank accounts, into their
Okay, and through fractional
offshore
reserve
bank accounts.
and through fractional reserve
Oh,
banking.
right. I'll tell you. It goes into the stock market where it goes into the hands of other wealthy people.
Okay, and where does that
So
money go into
reciprocation of-
eventually? Money is only worth something because it is attached to
the-
production.
Well, and yet, it's not. Not more
But it
jobs
literally
have
is.
not been created with the money that. No. More jobs were not created with the money that were used in the Trump tax cut. In fact, the jobs were
That's
shipped
correct.
overseas. More layout. There was a net
Okay, but unemployment
loss
is okay. Listen,
of jobs after you take into account the layoffs that the tax cut.
absolutely
Oh
not.
my
If
God.
you look at unemployment, they're literally at a record low.
Well, okay.
There was a net loss of jobs.
You have
That
to
is just
look at-
that is
already
factually
going
not true.
down.
Unemployment has been going down since
I mean, the economy is
2016.
already going up. Sorry, I meant unemployment. The economy is already going up. We didn't need to throw in another $1 trillion to the deficit to feed an economy that it was already growing up. It made no difference on the economic
I agree.
trend. But now we have
No,
another
I agree. I think that the
1.5
government should
trillion
be spending
in
a lot
our
less.
deficit.
I think that I just wanted to help
Government
out.
spending stimulates the economy. Government spending necessarily creates jobs.
Government
Did you
spending can
not
create
hear
jobs,
about
but
the
it-
800,000 federal
Government's-
workers?
Government spending creates jobs, but it destroys more jobs through taxation and deficit spending because of that. No one is saying that governments can't create jobs. We're saying that
Evidently not,
the way
because so much money was given. Evidently not, because so much money was given to CEOs, and in fact, no. A lot of the money CEOs get, they hold in the bank or in
Yes, but the
stock
bank
market or in
literally lends
offshore
that
bank
money
accounts
then out
that
to
never
private
go down.
individuals.
They're creating that never
well,
go
okay,
down.
so
Yeah, but there's no,
okay, let me just jump in and help California Social Dumb right now.
What is
If
Sure.
you're talking, you cut out.
Sure.
So I just wanted to say that
okay,
there's
but there's nobody.
with all sort
Oh,
of
dude, he's behind. Or
What?
something. I can't understand anything he's saying.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
cutting out.
he's lagging way too much for me.
But anyways, just let me say, I think that no matter where the money is in, no matter who's saying the money is in, whether it's in an individual, there is going to be it's going to stimulate the economy in some way. Like obviously, people putting money into banks is going to stimulate the economy in some way. But I tend to agree with the from a bourgeois economic stance. This doesn't even really concern me, but I'm just saying
Sure,
this for the
sure,
sake of
sure.
argument. From a bourgeois economic stance, I agree with the concept of the economic multiplier, and that I think that the impact that amount of money has is largely influenced by whose hand it's in and who the economic status, and this has been empirically confirmed. And so, like, I think there's things like the diversification of the economy. Like if all money is staying in the hands of rich people, then businesses which sell things to rich people are going to see more traffic than those which don't. There's all these different confounding.
Can you hear me? Can I jump
you
in
have to
here?
look at.
Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Barely.
What
Right,
is this?
so $1 million in tax cuts for a corporation will create about 7 jobs. I forgot the source on this, but the same $1 million in tax cuts to the bottom 50% of Americans will create 17 jobs. So the tax cut that Trump pushed through, yes, it was a tax cut to somebody, but it was not a tax cut to the right people. Programs like social
He lowered taxes on
Security,
low-income people as well.
programs like, well, no, because
did.
we have to start somewhere. In programs like food stamps, like potentially a universal basic income. I'm not advocating for that right now, but it's an example. Programs like Social Security, like Medicaid, they all put money in the pockets of those bottom 50%. So for every million you spend on those, you get 17 fucking jobs.
Okay, first of all, I would like to directly challenge that. You're saying that $1 million worth of tax cuts to companies create 7 jobs, but I really want to question the methodology of that study. Are you saying that $1 million, that those 7 jobs are created in that specific company? What about all the extra revenue that gets spent, that gets spent into other parts of the economy? How many jobs do they create?
A net 7 jobs in the economy.
I really have to question the methodology of that study. I'm really going to have to read that study. Also, not to mention, every dollar that is spent on Medicare or Medicaid is a dollar taxed from the people. So every dollar you spend through there is a dollar taken.
Yes. So let's tax the rich instead.
Yeah, but you
because they're
can't
making
tax
so
yourself
much
into
money,
prosperity.
and then we can cut taxes on the poor people.
Because if you cut taxes for the rich,
You
the
can.
rich have less money to spend. Where do you think rich people spend their money? They spend it on capital goods to increase. They spend their money on capital goods. They spend their money into expanding the
There are two
productivity of the
basic
government.
theories of economics. There's the theory there's trickle up and trickle down. Trickle down.
No,
is
that's bullshit.
get the
No
rich
one
people to
fucking
spend the money
believes
on
in
the workers.
trickle-down
Trickle up.
economics. That is a straw man created by Keynesians and leftists. No one
Okay,
actually fucking believes seriously in trickle-down economics.
Steve Scalise believes in it. Trump believes in it.
Steve
Paul
Scalise
Ryan
is a
believes in it.
fucking retard, and John Bolton doesn't believe in trickle-down economics the same way that you're presenting it.
Okay, but the point is this: in the hand. So yes, they spend it on capital goods, but you know what they already have? They already have a shitload of money. You know who needs money? The poor people. The people who will then go out and buy things that the rich companies produce. So Ben Shapiro makes this whole argument. He says, I don't see how people buying hamburgers is going to stimulate our economy. You know how many people the fast food industry employs? Over 3 million people. You know what happens when those people, when that industry creates more jobs? Now you're going out and you got people buying cars. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I gotta go now. Yeah, okay, I gotta go now. But
all right, it was nice
I just
talking to
had
you, California Social
you
Democrat.
too. I had a whole rant that I don't think you heard about the fast food industry, but that's
All
okay.
right, we heard parts of
Fun to
it,
be
but
on the
thank you for
podcast.
coming on, man. Thanks.
I wasn't expecting we having another economic discussion on this.
Okay, first of all, a
godforsaken
few
podcast.
things wrong with what he said. He was like, "Oh yeah," but okay,
shut up.
sure. If you spend money on fast
Bro,
food,
you sound
obviously
just
you're going
like
to
him.
increase employment. But that's okay. That's not the same thing as spending on capital goods. You're not actually increasing the.
Next.
It's
Yes.
over. It's
It's
over.
over. Calm down.
I'm so mad, dude. It's not the same thing as
I'll
spending on
talk to
consumer
him
goods as
another
capital
time.
goods.
Okay, I have a
Maybe-
much better tax plan than both you and
Abolish
California
income
faces.
tax. Abolish income tax
exactly.
right now.
Abolish income tax and abolish income, dog. That's
Yes.
the idea. That's my plan. Abolish money. Abolish money.
Abolish money so that the price system can't efficiently allocate scarce resources.
Why not?
What?
Well, why not? Though? I don't really
because
buy
then-
into the economic calculation. I think the economic calculation problem is, for the most part, a critique of top-down, centrally planned systems, which doesn't take into account the fact that we can have a socialist system which is based on decentralized modes of like gouging demand and stuff. You know, there can be like consumer representative committees, workers' councils, and so on, which
Sure.
kind of plan the economy in this way. And there's also, you know, we also have very much more advanced technology than we had when, you know, F.A.
Definitely.
Hayek originally came up with this, so we can
Definitely.
perform calculations much more effectively and so on.
But let me ask you this, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, okay, how do I say? How much society needs a certain good
Mhm.
is completely subjective. And it is also prone to change at any whim.
Mhm.
So let's say, I'll give you a thought experiment, right? Let's say the commissar of transportation is trying to build a railway. And let's say there's a mountain in between point A and point B. He has two options. He can either dig through the mountain to go to point B, or he can go around the mountain. But in order to dig through the mountain, he needs, let's say, 3 extra units of engineering, but he doesn't need more rails. But if he decides to go around the mountain, he needs 3 extra units of rails, but he doesn't need any more engineering. How does he know which one is the most economically efficient choice?
Well, he can. I mean, you know, as I said, he could. We'd probably be able to use technology to gouge things like supply and demand. We could gouge supply and demand through decentralized institutions like consumer representative committees that, you know, would tell this commissar or whatever, like, here is what we're lacking as far as resources. Here is what we want. There could be workers' councils which he could consult with, which, you know, could say, this is how much resources, this is how much X resource we have available. This is how much Y resource we have available. I'm just saying that I think that there's more ways to plan an economy than in the top-down structure, which a lot of socialists advocate for, which the economic calculation is applicable to.
That's true. I think that is a fair point. The socialist calculation problem is definitely more of a critique on any planned economy rather than just all forms of socialism, you know?
Right.
So you do have a point there, but indeed, we've had this conversation probably 3 times on this podcast.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
Okay. Stalin's statues are getting re-erected in Russia, and plus a surge in the increase of popularity in Stalin.
Bro, the statues are not the only thing erect when I heard that news.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that Porky right now is getting a real hard on.
Yeah. I'm real happy.
Okay, so
I don't like the way you said that, Porky.
What do you mean?
I don't like the voice you used when you said that.
Can we? Okay, Porky.
Why?
Can I bring up what we were discussing before this podcast started?
What?
just as long as Porky doesn't get toxic.
What is that?
You were You were
the 9/11 thing.
The 9/11 thing.
No.
Nope.
Can we
I said
can we
nothing.
not-
I
can we-
said
can-
nothing.
can we
I said
not?
nothing.
Can we not?
Can we not? Okay, let's not get you on a terrorist watch list for today.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Why do you think that Stalin is getting a lot more popular in Russia?
Okay, this is my take.
Your hot take.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This nuclear take. Okay, so
Okay.
I don't think the reason for Stalin's surge of popularity is because majority of Russians are going communist. I don't think it has to do much with communism or Marxism at all. I think it has to do more with the rise of patriotism, right? That's the word. Yeah, and basically Russians are remembering the victory of World War II, blah blah. Like Putin's government has emphasized the victory in 1945, like the World War II victory, and who was the leader during that time? Yeah, Stalin. So Stalin is like, because if you look at the top like 5 reasons why people said he was a good leader, it was because of industrialization, patriotism, and some other dumb shit that no one cares about. Okay, but those were the top reasons: patriotism and basically industrialization, which also kind of ties in with the nation and Russia as a whole. So I don't think it has much to do with Marxism or the rise of Marxism.
So if you think that it's not an effect of a rise in Marxism, do you think it could at least be a cause of the rise of Marxism? Do you think that maybe it could eventually lead, if people are feeling sympathetic towards Stalin, do you think that can make people more sympathetic towards Marxist ideas and therefore perhaps lead to a rise in Marxism?
100%. I do think so. I think openness to Soviet leaders generally, and not like deeming them as terrible, inhuman fucking devils, is instantly like more open to Marxist ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. You know, I'm not even a fan of Stalin,
Like,
but I see it as a win.
even if you like,
Did he just say that he's not a fan of Stalin?
okay, can I instantly ban him?
Stalin was under 170, therefore a beta male.
Oof.
For real.
Wait, Mouthy, how
You
tall
just
are you?
called both me and Porky a beta.
Are you guys under 170?
Yeah.
fam.
Ultimate betas. Mouthy, how
Shut
old
up.
are you? I mean, how tall are you?
I have no idea. I don't know my
Alright.
weight or my height.
Listen, boys. Shut up.
What?
We're talking about Stalin. Okay, what's your take, Mouthy?
I think that there's a general rise in sympathy towards socialism in a lot of nations. I think that in the U.S., a recent victims of communism study has found that obviously a lot of these kids were referring to social democracy, but I still think that
Yeah.
openness to the term socialism, it does have some significance. I think that that study showed that more teens and kids feel sympathetic towards socialism than they do towards capitalism. Support for Stalin in Russia is reaching all-time highs. And so I think that what we're seeing is the fact that I believe that capitalism is in a sense decaying, and I think it's going to continue to decay. And I think that people are beginning to look for alternatives because they're seeing the externalities of this system. And the very obvious, most theoretically developed alternative is Marxism and communism. And so I think a lot of people are turning towards that. And I think that this could be this is more significant than some people think, because in a couple of years from now, there is going to be another recession. Even libertarian economists like Peter Schiff, who predicted the 2008 recession, predict another recession to happen in 2020, and he says that it might be as bad as the Great Depression, if not worse. And we see with automation, workers are going to continue to be displaced. So I think that people are being favorable towards socialism more and more in even developed countries, and of course this is going to be even more so in undeveloped nations where they're forced into slave labor and stuff. But people are seeing the externalities, and they're beginning to turn away from capitalism, and this is going to be completely exacerbated with increase in massive displacement of workers due to automation and the next Great Recession, which is going to hit. And so I think that there's general revolutionary potential.
Are you saying that you're agreeing with an Austrian economist?
Is Peter Schiff an Austrian?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. I knew he's a libertarian.
Austrian noises.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with him on
Austrian economics.
I'm agreeing with him that a recession very well might happen. I disagree with his diagnosis of the cause.
Schiff voices strong support for the Austrian school of economic thought. Therefore, Mouthy is now an Austrian economist.
I guess so. That's true.
Well,
so
can we
guys,
make this a meme?
So I just want to say that I've been a Marxist for a little while, but I thought about self-ownership, and I am now an Austrian.
Epic.
Okay.
I found out that Venezuela exists, and I'm no longer socialist.
Venezuela.
Nice.
Dude, have you heard about iPhones?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're correct. You're absolutely
Socialism
correct.
sucks.
What's an iPhone?
Porky,
Who's gonna
you're
create
not
an
cool
iPhone?
anymore. You're the only cool kid that's still.
Oh my God, guys! What part? Okay, dude, what part of a socioeconomic system that incentivizes innovation and invention led to the creation of an iPhone? It was literally the workers that pieced the metal together. Are you dumb?
Can we kick him? Can we kick him?
Can we accept also that
Guys,
majority of technologies that came for the iPhone were from the state? Yikes.
Dude, not even just the state, though. I think it's largely incorrect to say that people need a profit motive to innovate.
I think it depends on what industry.
Time again.
What?
I think it depends on what industry. Like, for example, if we're talking about rocket technology or physics and stuff, then yeah, I don't think that a profit motive really matters. But I think that more for consumer good industries like iPhones, then yeah, definitely.
I saw a little while ago. I'm trying to remember this school. I think it was a Harvard business. Hold on, I have to check. Yes, it was a Harvard Business Review study found that innovations developed by individuals who give them away increasingly compete with patent-protected for-profit innovations in parts of the economy. And the overall conclusion of the study was that people don't need a profit motive to innovate. And I think this is even under the capitalistic mode of production. I think that profit. The basis of profit is a need for innovation, to the extent that it even exists, is purely a product of the of bourgeois ideology of the capitalist mode of production, where everything is based around profit. And I think that under a socialist society, which things the core base of society isn't profit motive and so on, this tendency for people to innovate even without a profit motive would be even increased. So I don't know. I don't really buy the idea that we need a profit motive to innovate, and that's a valid argument against socialism.
I don't think that. I think that a lot of libertarians or a lot of capitalists take it too far. A lot of them are like, "Oh, but without the profit motive, nothing would ever get done," which I actually disagree with. I think that, first of all, I think that we need to look at the difference between invention and innovation. If we look at the Soviet Union, there was a lot of astrophysics and a lot of, how would you say, like, rocket science inventions and innovations and like discovery, right? And like obviously they didn't have a profit incentive. Same with NASA.
Mhm.
But I think that a lot of what profit does is really it makes people go the extra mile. Like, for example, Thomas Sowell actually gave this really good analogy in his book Basic Economics when he was talking about how private charities actually tend to perform a lot better in helping natural disaster victims than the government. And that's mainly due to the fact that, for example, while governments, the individuals working for governments don't necessarily have the private profit incentive to, for example, haul their ass at night at 3 a.m. towards a natural disaster zone. Well, they'll take precautions like, oh, we're going to go at this time next morning, blah, blah, blah. Private companies actually end up taking a lot more risks because of the profit motive. And I think that this accumulates into more innovation than what you would have without the profit motive.
Yeah, sure.
No doubt. I accept your premise to a certain extent.
Sure. Well, I think that my response to that would be that I think that's kind of an ideological mystification. I think that you can very well make the argument that under the current epoch, private charities do more because they have the profit motive, and the profit motive does play a role. But I don't think you can say that because the profit motive is the primary motive under the current epoch, and it therefore plays a significant role in the way people conduct themselves. I don't think that you can say that in the absence of this, incentive, if you created a society where this incentive didn't exist, other incentives would prop up in its place that, such as, doing stuff for the good of the community would be the communist outlook. I don't think you could say that because the profit motive plays a significant role in the current epoch, under another epoch where this incentive didn't exist, other incentives wouldn't pop up to have the same effect. You know what I mean?
I can accept your premise that it wouldn't completely disappear. But I do not accept your premise in that other incentives would actually replace that a profit. I think that we can see this through just a historical point of view, that in terms of consumer goods and not just like pure scientific and technological innovation, like for example rocket technology and whatnot. I think that there is a lot less consumer orientated innovation and innovation for the well-being and utility of average people in socialist countries.
Well, of course, I would disagree with Porky and Venice on this, but I don't think that these countries really were socialist because they still had commodity production, and therefore,
I love how it's like us two debating, and we're still managing to get Porky pissed off.
That was actually me blowing the mic.
I was going to say that I think that. So I think that my general point is, in a more specific way, yes, right now the profit motive plays an important role because the profit motive is the core of society. And so therefore, if you look at it in the context of capitalist societies, yes, this is going to play an important role. Maybe not as important a role as a lot of people think, as you said, but it plays just somewhat a role. But I think that if you contrast this to a communist society or a socialist society, I think you could make the argument that the importance of the profit motive, which arises out of the material conditions of the current epoch, as historical materialism goes, you could say that the core, the nature of disincentive is the core incentive interferes with the extent to which other incentives can play a role, because these other incentives are undermined by the prominence of the profit motive. And I think if you subtracted the profit motive, these other incentives, such as doing things for the good of community or for personal fulfillment, will be able to take on much larger of a role and be actualized to a much greater extent because they don't have the profit motive undermining them.
I think that, for example, I think that you're arguing a lot from a place more of hypothetical than actually, how do I say it? I don't want to say rational, but you get what I mean. Like you're arguing from a very
Empirical?
hypothetical point of view. Empirical. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
I think that definitely, I think that once you get rid of the profit motive, I'm sure that other motives will prop up and that other motives will, to a certain extent, be created.
Mhm.
But I think that the profit incentive is a lot more than just, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get money. I think that the profit incentive and just this very basic human nature of investment, in which sacrificing satisfaction now for greater satisfaction later, like ends up being a lot better of an incentive than anything of this like altruistic nature. I think that in itself, and I think that this is actually proven time and time again, that humans are very self-serving. And I think that even outside of this whole capitalist epoch, we can see this in little children, that humans at the end of the day are self-serving because our basic human instinct is to survive and therefore
Well,
increase the utility of our personal self.
I disagree, actually. I've reviewed a series of studies of kids and their altruism to selfishness ratio, and the
Yeah.
overwhelming conclusion of the majority of these studies is that children have the capacity for innate altruism, children have the capacity for innate selfishness, but the extent to which both of these capacities of our nature are actualized are entirely dependent on the kid's environmental circumstance and how they've been raised and how they live. So I think that the literature, the scientific literature on studies of altruism, cooperativeness in children is completely consistent with my thesis, which is that it is the underpinning social circumstance
So
which
boring.
determines the extent to which
Shut the
these
fuck up, Porky.
these different aspects of human nature are actualized. And like, I definitely agree that my position is a lot more hypothetical than empirical, but
Yeah.
I think my thesis can be seen partly from an empirical point of view and partly from just a rational point of view. So my general argument is somewhat three-pronged. So one, people innovate a lot without the profit motive, even in the capitalist superstructure, which can be seen empirically. And you can say that the profit incentive adds a little bit more. That's something we can talk about, but that's a different kind of discussion. Then my second part of my argument is that even though people don't entirely need a profit incentive under capitalism, capitalism does, under the centralization of the profit motive under the capitalist mode of production, does undermine under incentives. Because if this can just be seen pretty logically, let's take a thought experiment. Say Susie has $20-$30 under capitalist society. She's incentivized to use that to help herself, because the profit motive is central to capitalism. But in the absence of this, in the absence of the capitalist superstructure, this profit motive doesn't really remain intact. So she's more likely to use her means to help other people, because the competitive nature, which keeps this profit motive alive, doesn't really So my argument is that in the absence of the profit motive, other incentives will become more prominent, because as it exists right now, the capitalist mode of production and the profit incentive that it gives birth to kind of suppresses the ability of other incentives. You know what I mean? And that if the elimination of capitalism, the slight supplement that the profit motive has over innovation, which I do posit is very slight, because I don't think we need it entirely, as seen through the history of capitalism, to the extent which the profit motive provides a slight supplementation, I think that other motives would pop up in its place to supplement it in a way that doesn't harm innovation to a very great extent.
I think that you brought up a really interesting point with the point of competition, which I think that is another innate, which I think that it is something that is innate to the epoch of capitalism, or at least the capitalist mode of production and the society that we live in. And I think that competition in itself is also another extremely important incentive into doing things. For example, why do we? Okay, so the whole point of markets, or at least the way that markets should, the way that markets do exist, and the way that do function without, I guess, the intervention of the state, is that essentially you have creative destruction, right? The best idea wins because the best idea can be produced best for the consumer with like the lowest price to the producer. And I think that this is really central to the very argument of incentives, because this is a system that would no longer exist in a communistic or Marxist society. You're getting rid of this idea of competition, which is exactly actually extremely important to the production of new innovation. And we can see this, for example, within profit. The only reason, so why does the profit incentive even work? It's because it is a competition over scarce resources, right?
Mhm.
And essentially, if we live in a society in which people no longer believe that resources are scarce, so that they no longer believe that their private expenditure would really have a lot of this like long-term effect on themselves, in which they can gain a lot, but yes, they're losing a lot at the same time, we wouldn't have the amount of innovation as we do now, because this competition is what really drives people.
Sure.
And this competition comes from the scarcity of profit.
Okay, so again, a few historical examples right now.
Sure.
Innovations by people who give them away are increasingly competing with patent-protected, competition-driven, innovations. So I
Sure.
think that the idea that we need the competition to innovate is it kind of discredited by this occurrence which we are seeing right now, even under the capitalist epoch, which suppresses the ability of the incentives which would exist under communism to really actualize themselves. So I think that's a decent thing that you have to kind of acknowledge when talking about this. And I think also if you look at again, I'm no fan of the Soviet Union, but if you look at the Soviet Union, they did innovate pretty significantly without competition. They industrialized very fast. You can say that their consumer goods were not very, their consumer goods were kind of bad, but this kind of, I think that the industrial and the practical innovation which they employed during the same time period kind of makes up for that fact.
Yeah.
I think that we generally, I don't know. I generally disagree with the notion that we need a competition or a profit motive to innovate to the extent which we innovate now.
Okay. This is boring.
Okay,
Next topic.
Alabama guy, Alabama thing.
Okay, Mouthy, I think this is an extremely thoughtful and breathtaking debate, and I'd love to continue with it when these guys actually care.
Okay, listen,
Yeah.
guys.
When
Listen.
Porky has
If you
a
ever
big enough
want
brain
to,
to comprehend
if
this
you-
discourse, we can
if
move
you-
the argument.
if you ever
Exactly.
want to fucking have this podcast be big, just don't ever talk about economics at this point. This is so boring. Holy shit! If I was like, dude, I will never watch this podcast.
Whoa. Shocker, the socialist doesn't understand economics.
I played video games during this entire conversation. It was so boring. Listen, next topic.
That's really sad.
Dog, I'm hurt.
Why you gotta
Yeah,
do me like
Porky.
that, bro?
Yeah, why you gotta do us like this, Porky?
Yeah.
Because
We're
boring.
having like a thoughtful discussion and shit.
It was really boring. I hate that Mouthy every time he says anything positive about the Soviet Union. He's like, I am no fan of Stalin, but
Well, I don't want people associating my views with someone like you.
I don't want to be associated.
okay then.
Why would you not want to be associated with Porky?
Why
Yeah, what
would
the
you
fuck?
want to? Why would you want to be associated?
Because Porky's
Because-
based.
Porky's
I
a
have a big
psychopathic murder dog.
Yeah, okay, well, he may have killed Mike, but come on, man. Like,
Porky
Okay, like
killed
this,
people
but
in their bathtubs
unironically.
and supports
Listen.
9/11, dog. I'm
Oh,
not
fuck,
trying to associate with Porky, man. I'm sorry, Porky.
shit. Oh shit. Dude, this is actually hurts, dude.
I'm sorry, Porky.
Dude, my gay
Well-
lover just betrayed me.
what do you mean you're a gay lover?
Yes, I'm sorry. He's mine.
No. I mean,
Okay, the Alabama laws, the albino laws.
albino.
The albino. Are you trying to say the Alabama laws?
Yeah, the Alabama laws.
Did he? Could just say albino laws.
Yes. Okay, guys, let's do this question all around. Matthew, you begin. What's your opinion on abortion?
It's stupid.
Oh.
You know, it's the Alabama abortion law is kind of ridiculous. I think that
I
I'm
asked you
personally
what's your
not
opinion on
against
abortion, but okay.
Okay, so I'm generally not personally opposed to abortion because I think that if you're going to say that anything with a heartbeat is a life and therefore should be valid as a life and therefore it should be illegal to kill, then it should be illegal to kill pigs and cows because they have heartbeats. I think what defines a human, what defines a life, is consciousness, not these automatic functions, but consciousness. And I think that consciousness can be measured as it's a product of the brain. And so I think that the cutoff for abortion should be brain functionality or consciousness. And so
Okay.
I think that should, but I think this abortion law, that's on a personal standpoint, actually.
Wait.
not
No, I just want to ask you a question before continue. Okay,
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
you're talking about consciousness. What about if you're like asleep or you're knocked out?
But you're still conscious.
Yeah.
Are you?
You're still a conscious
Not-
life.
No, if you're what?
If you're knocked out of conscience.
No, we're using two different definitions of consciousness. Consciousness doesn't mean that
Yeah.
consciousness means that you're a sentient being. Just because you're
Yes.
asleep doesn't mean you're not a sentient being.
Yes.
Sentience.
Like anyone can wake you up at any point.
Yes. Exactly.
No,
and
no, if
not
you're,
only
like,
that,
knocked
but
out.
the
No,
proper
if- no.
analogy. Okay, go ahead.
No,
No, if
Porky.
you're in a
no, okay.
coma.
Yes, that's the proper analogy. And if you're in a coma and there's no
Yes.
chance of you coming back,
Exactly. Then your
you would put
family
life-
members have a right to end your life, and that is exactly the argument we should be making.
Yeah, but wait. So the babies, not the babies, but the things before the babies with no consciousness, they will become babies. The same way you can recover from a coma.
Well, so
Right.
that's an argument from potential life. So the difference between a person in a coma and a baby is that, or a fetus rather, is that a person in a coma is an existent sentient life, which has already had many interactions with other people and which will return to being the same sentient life. The baby is not yet a sentient life. And if you're going to argue from potential, from, this is a potential life, then by that same standard, scratching your nose is genocide. Because with modern scientific development, we can turn any cell on your body into a life with the right genetic manipulation, with the right experiment. And so if a potential life is valid as a life, then scratching your nose is mass genocide. You know what I mean?
But I don't understand why.
So I don't think you can really
Also, masturbation. You would be worse than Hitler, dog.
Yeah.
No wait. No. So if your life is determined, again, I'm not even pro fucking life or whatever. Okay, doesn't matter. So you made a point
You
that
sure sound like it.
that you had social interactions before and you had interactions with other human beings. Does that mean like if you never had human interactions, you're not worth a life?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I was just using that. I wasn't using like if you have a human interaction, that should be the basis of what's considered a life. I was just using that as an example to illustrate the fact that this person in a coma is already a life, which is put on pause. Rather, the baby or the fetus is a life which hasn't even become a life yet. Like it's not a life; it's something that's going to turn into a life. Like a person in a coma is a movie on pause, and a fetus is a DVD you haven't even put into the TV yet. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. I guess I don't know, dude. Like I don't know. Doesn't sound convincing to me. I just feel like that thing is still gonna become alive. And sure, you can like say, "Oh, but come." Well, yeah. I mean, like, but that hasn't even like,
What the fuck?
well, like,
That's the
That's, like,
exact
not at the
argument I was
same
going to make. I was just going to be like, "Oh, cool."
Bro, honestly, whenever I just debate anti-abortion people, I'm just like, come. Bro, I just look at them and I just say the word come.
Just gotta stare them directly in the eyes while you're doing it.
Yeah, dude.
well, yeah, whatever. So, but isn't the abortion laws not even about this? The abortion laws are about like 8 weeks or something.
6 weeks. And also, I think that the argument, like, oh, what if you get raped? What if you get incest victims? I
It's
think
like
that
less
is
than 1%.
no. That is a terrible argument. for this law, mainly due to the fact that in this law it gives you 6 weeks to get an abortion, and if you've been raped or if you've let's say through incest, if like you have more than a month to get an abortion. So I don't think that law really applies. I think that's a bad argument.
Well, okay, so I just wanted to say that regardless of how we feel about this on a personal level, which is a discussion that we can have, I think we can all agree that on a political level, banning it is impractical.
Yeah, it's real bad.
A Guttmacher Institute study found that countries, in international analysis, found that countries with looser abortion laws actually see lower rates of abortion, and countries with easier access to birth control and so on have lower rates of abortion. So if abortion is really a moral wrong, and we want to reduce it rather than these symbolic things like, oh, we want it illegal to kill a baby on the books. I think we should adopt a utilitarian standpoint and say, okay, what is like logically and empirically shown to reduce this, and we should employ those policies. And in this case, those policies would be looser laws on abortion, easier access to birth control, better health care, etc.
Okay, 100%, 200% agree with you, right? But
I like how you had to edit it, like 100%. No, 200%.
No, 300%. I agree with you. But have you seen that video of the Christian fundamentalist that praised the laws in Alabama as an end of Jewish control?
That's what it is, though. That's what it is. Abortion laws were created by Jews to subvert Western culture. I'm pretty sure this is just.
Yeah.
I thought
And
we
that
were
is
on the
why.
same page here.
And this is why Jews have the highest racial intermarriage rate out of all the ethnicity groups.
He stated also that like Jewish law became the law of the land.
What is Jewish law?
When abortion was allowed.
Bro,
What the fuck is Jewish
law?
law?
Jews are so
Jewish law is when
ethnocentric that
abortion
they're
is allowed.
orchestrating left-wing and right-wing intellectual movements disproportionately, have this highest intermarriage rate of any ethnicity, and are losing their population. The Jewish population is lowering because of how hard they're defending their ethnocentricity.
Dude,
It's crazy, man.
abortion laws.
They're so effective at defending their ethnocentricity that the Jewish population has been falling due to policies and intermarriage rates that they actively participate in, man.
Guys,
Listen,
I'm looking at the statistics of the global Jewish population, and I don't know why, but there's this really huge decrease in around the 1930s.
Bro.
Okay, nice.
You mean the 1940s? You're not even good.
1939 was the beginning of the Holocaust. You fucking read.
No, it wasn't.
No,
Yes,
no,
it
it
was.
wasn't. It was 1941, dude. That's when they started mass killing.
Was it in 1939?
Idiot. No, idiot. That's why
Yeah,
World
no,
War
they
II
said-
began.
the Jewish population decreased then because they all had to, meet up to fake it, man.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
They all just had to like get together. They had some nice matzah. They were just like, it'd be a really good idea if we just all faked a genocide.
Oh, can
No,
we
you're all
actually
dumb,
get somebody-
And everything that disagrees with that is Jewish history.
Can we
Every-
actually get somebody on here who denies the Holocaust? Because I would love.
Yeah,
to
can we
discuss
actually? Holy shit!
Does
Doesn't
anybody-
Robert?
I don't know, man.
Doesn't Robert
Wooden
deny the
doors.
Holocaust?
that. If
Wooden
Robert,
doors. Wooden doors.
Robert denies the Holocaust, I will
doesn't-
absolutely destroy him, dude.
He
Also,
doesn't-
okay,
he doesn't.
not a joke. There was actually like a huge decrease in the Jewish population in like the 70s as well.
What happened?
Where's that?
I don't fucking know.
Well, the Jewish population has been, or at least like the secular liberal Jewish population, has been decreasing because of high intermarriage rates. And these are
Yeah.
the same people who the alt-right claims are orchestrating the world in their ethnocentric interest.
The population of Jews are just barely rising, but I mean, like as
Well, the secular
percentage.
liberal Jews, they're
But I mean, like as percentage of like the world population, they're decreasing by quite a lot.
right, yeah. And the secular liberal Jews, more specifically, the ones that the alt-right claim orchestrate these intellectual movements, they're the specific sect of Jews for who the rates of their existence is going down. Like that demographic is falling with each generation.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, Robert doesn't deny the Holocaust, but he praises fascist Italy and Mussolini.
That's cool.
And he also, when I asked him a good example of a fascist state in history, he pointed to the Japanese Empire.
Oh my god.
Did he actually? Oh god.
Oh my god.
I don't know, like,
Robert's
I
gonna
don't,
get a word.
Yikes.
Robert's
I don't
gonna get a
wanna-
word from me later.
I don't want to strawman him or anything, but like that, I have Venice. You were with me, right? With that big ass debate.
I remember you guys talk. I remember talking about Italy. It
But-
was some
but-
time ago. I don't remember it fully.
Yeah, but he said some weird shit. Also, is it just me, or is the idea of an ethno state real dumb? Because you know
It's
how white
super
national,
stupid.
Dude,
Why
it's so based.
Super
What are you
stupid.
talking
I had
about?
a 3-hour debate on ethnostates on this
What?
channel.
yeah, I mean, like even if like white nationalists, they believe a white ethno state will just be a bunch of white people. But if we do DNA tests, there will be a lot of black people and brown people in that ethno state.
Exactly, man. And like not only that, but diversity increases innovation. An ethnostate would actually absolutely destroy the international community by sending waves of immigration at other countries which are already seeing high rates of immigration, which would destroy their country. Nationalism is positively correlated with higher rates of war.
Yeah,
we're
of
in a
course.
point in history where the main thing that we need
Also,
is international cooperation and innovation to combat two of the main existential threats, which is nuclear war and climate change. And
Also-
an ethnostate would directly contribute significantly to both of these issues. It would make international tensions worse and it would decrease innovation. And therefore,
Well-
I think that an ethnostate is not only stupid, it's catastrophically dumb.
Actually, I
100
think that one of the global
1000%.
crises is actually season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Oh my god, let's not talk about that monstrosity. Okay, yeah.
I don't
Perhaps
think
it trumps. Perhaps it even trumps climate change.
Also, don't forget, like, basically the best way to make an ethnostate is genocide. Like, that's like the easiest way to do it. Just fucking kill the minorities. And how, like,
But I mean,
yeah.
like, you
It's
know, what's
inevitable.
that fucking guy
Minorities
calling
are
it?
going to get killed because they're not all going to leave voluntarily. Like,
yeah, there are a lot of people are gonna be killed. And
You
basically,
know James Mason?
Wait, shut up, please.
Yeah.
So board, I hate when people cutting me off. Okay, so yeah, you know when you send out a bunch of like you get deported, that's like borderline like that's sending you to your death. Like, what if you lived your entire life in that nation and now you're just getting kicked out? You don't know.
You
where
mean
you're
like the
going.
191 ethnic Koreans that were like forcefully
yeah,
displaced by
yeah.
the Soviet Union?
We
Oh, yeah,
talked
sure.
about
Oh, yeah,
this.
sure.
It was
Oof.
by a guy who got shot when his crimes were exposed.
Yeah, bro.
okay.
Yeah, bro. Stalin is so evil. He kills mass murderers.
Yeah, bro. So,
Dumb
Okay.
motherfucker.
you have a system.
Do you
in which,
know?
Bro.
Have you guys seen that picture with
you
Stalin
have a
and the
system in which
boats?
mass murder can
Yes, sir.
happen within your own country. Okay, cool.
What?
Okay, cool. I punish genocide. I punish mass murderers.
Yes,
I'm
but yeah,
sorry.
you allowed that. But yeah, you had a system which allowed that to happen within your own country and didn't do nothing
Oh,
about
dude.
it for many, many years.
Dude. What? No, not in many,
What?
many years. It was 1 year of the purge, and then he got shot. It was
No,
less
but
than
how
a-
long do you think that guy was doing it before it before he got shot?
He was a spy, so yeah, he was there a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, spies are fucking OP, dude. Do you like?
spies are OP, bro. It's okay
Yeah.
it's okay that he committed fucking ethnic displacement.
I never said it was okay. I said he was punished for his crimes. I just say that spies are real good. If you look at history, the one British spy like was a German officer for how fucking long? It's like 2 years. Dude. Like, there's no denying that. Yeah, spies can stay in other countries' office long time.
What the fuck is your point?
That it wasn't. You can't really blame the Soviet government for having a spy of another nation inside it.
Wait, he was a spy?
Japanese
Yeah.
spy. Yep.
Most likely Japanese spy.
Bro, how did a Japanese pretend to be Russian for that long, man?
Yeah,
But he
holy
was
shit.
he was
That's
Russian,
crazy,
but
guys.
he was Russian, but he
He
was
was
recruited by
Russian and Japanese.
That's
that's
mad. Kalergi plan, bro.
Okay.
Do you guys are into the Kalergi plan?
Absolutely.
Kalergi. Okay.
I don't know how to
Also-
pronounce it. Is Kalergi?
Clergy. I don't know.
Cleric.
Cleric. Also,
Did you guys
Iran.
know that Taiwan has 0 Jews?
okay. Iran.
Okay, wait. Can I just take this opportunity to say something?
Yes.
If for anybody who's like made the mistake of listening this long into the podcast, we are starting
Yeah.
a new channel for this these live streams because I'm going to start doing more video essays and stuff, and I don't want these episodes to be like lost behind and everything else that I'm doing. And so we're going to create a new channel, and also so that we can do better broadcasting software because my laptops doesn't work very well for.
Oh, I downloaded this software called Streamlabs OBS, and it's like really OP.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Good,
love you,
good,
bro.
good job, Mix.
Yeah, I love you, bro.
But yeah, so I'll link that in this video, I guess.
Yeah, you will.
Okay, Iran.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my.
What the What's going on?
Yeah, you
Oh
fucking
my-
will.
Bro, what is
I
Okay.
do not know how fucking hot it is in my room. I'm dying. I'm gonna go open a window. Hold up.
Okay, let's talk about the leader of the free world, Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Nice. Nice.
the Socialist Republic of Iran?
Yeah. Okay.
Venice,
So
what did you just send? Okay.
the
I'll
United
take
the United States, I'm pretty sure, has now planned 120k troops to Iran, not into Iran, but bordering Iran. And the reason they stated, quote unquote, for defensive reasons. Yes, you have 120,000 troops on another nation's borders for defensive reasons.
Yes, in the whole basis of us attacking them or mobilizing these troops is because a Israeli intelligence committee told us that Iran is planning to attack us. So we're trusting a source that has like openly wanted to attack Iran for years, telling us it's like, hey, you guys have a reason to attack Iran, and we're like, yep, guess we gotta mobilize against Iran. Like, okay,
Oh yeah.
anybody who at this point who witnesses this imperialistic behavior and thinks it's anything other than the result of economic interest and expansion of capital is propagated by the capitalist superstructures just lying to themselves.
Yeah, dude. Holy shit. Also, we're gonna like deny that Iran has been trying to do peace with the United States for so fucking long.
Yeah,
And
I
now
mean,
the-
like the whole Iran deal was just a testament to that.
Okay,
Yeah,
and a
exactly,
fun
which they were following. They were following the Iran
to
deal
a
like,
T.
to the letter perfectly. We had
Yeah.
committees go in there several points and confirm that they were following the laws of the Iran nuclear deal, and
Also-
Trump just cut it for no reason.
Also, you have to also remember, right now, the person that's in power in Iran is a moderate. He wants to make peace with the Westerners, blah blah. No, he's not moderate for us. Like
yeah.
he screams death to
He's
America.
moderate in Iranian terms.
Wait,
Yeah.
how is that? That's
Porky
Yeah,
says he's a moderate that wants to make peace, and he's like, okay, he does scream death to America.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
to America,
yeah,
of course.
okay, wait. That's so moderate compared to the other
Yeah,
side.
no,
The
you're
other
right, I
side,
get you.
the other side has stated they will never deal with you. They told, now they're saying, like, we told you the Americans will never actually want to work with us. We have to go to war.
I
with you.
actually support Khomeini, the true leader of the Islamic Revolution.
And basically
Nice.
the hardline faction inside Iran basically says we need to be much more offensive. Like, this proxy wars are just not enough. We need to like start fucking up the trade in the Gulf Sea and shit. Like, they're basically like hardliners. They want to. They're the neocons of Iran. They want to push back against the Americans, and this is what they're getting enabled because the moderates. The only reason they were in power was because the Iran deal, right? They saw everything was great. The sanctions had been lifted, no nuclear weapons, peace, right? And now the Americans have just done a 360 for no fucking reason. 80, 180. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, and yeah, now the hardliners, which told don't do deals with the Americans, are now saying we told you, right? And I think that's very dangerous because if you think the current Iranian government is hardline and Islamic, just imagine what the fuck can happen if we
Dude,
go.
Porky is actually not wrong. Like Hassan Rouhani. No. Okay, so Hassan Rouhani, which is the president of Iran, he's the head of a party literally called the Moderation and Development Party, and it is described as a pragmatic centrist political party.
Bro,
Yeah.
that's so big brand, man.
Well, I
He's
mean, like
an
we,
enlightened conscience, dude.
we got ISIS when we invaded Iraq. What the fuck will we get when we invade Iran?
Yeah, imagine
it's
imagine
gonna
what will
work
come out of an
this time,
Islamic
Porky.
theocracy.
You just don't understand. It's gonna work.
It's gonna
This time
work.
it will. This time
We're
it will,
gonna-
guys.
Also, we're gonna like John Bolton stated with meeting a bunch of Iranians, what do you call them, people that fled Iran and is working with Americans now.
Yeah.
He stated at that conference, the next time we will talk about the future of Iran, we will be doing it in Tehran, the capital of Iran, implying that they will take over Iran, right?
Dude, we have to invade Iran.
We have to invade Iran, guys, because otherwise they will do
How else are
deals
we
with
gonna-
us.
How else are we gonna get oil? I mean, spread democracy.
Yeah, what the fuck? Also,
Okay, dude, low key, his party sounds kind of based for being a part of Iran.
It's what?
This party is a part of the faction called the Modernist Right, moderate reformists and technocrats that draw upon the upper level bureaucrats, industrial managers. It is classified as Republican, which deals with the platform of modernization and economic growth, along
Okay,
with
so they're basically infidels.
They're moderate. They're
Yeah.
moderates, right?
I
And the
think they're
hardlines are like Islamic fucktards.
I think a really good analogy would be like Moderaterna versus
No.
like
No.
no, let's say they're Moderaterna, and then let's say the hardliners are like NMAD.
Oh what? No.
No,
Really?
no, I'm
they're
just making an analogy. I'm making an analogy.
Okay,
Okay.
can I throw in a side note here? I
Sure.
think that when John gets out of federal prison, we should have him debate California Social Dem on Hamas and Israel.
Yes.
Oh my god. Dude, when's he getting out of prison though?
Dude, I don't think he's ever getting out of prison.
Dude, wait. John,
he
did
get-
he,
Facing a
did he
maximum of
actually
100
donate
years.
$100?
He donated money to Israel or not Israel. He donated
To
money
Israel,
to
bro.
Hamas, and the FBI found this out because the FBI created like some covert Politigram account and like DM'd him asking him, how do I donate to Hamas? And he gave them actual legitimate information on how to donate to Hamas. And
Oh,
Yo,
did
said
he,
he found
he
it.
get
Okay, I am not responding to DMs anymore. I no.
Dude,
No,
you
okay,
can
so-
respond to DMs, just not when they're asking you how to donate to a terrorist organization. That might be kind of,
No.
I don't
I
get how-
not taking
I don't-
this.
I don't get how he got a DM like, "Hey, what's your ties to a terrorist organization?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, here you go." Like,
He just sent him like a URL.
here
Just-
is legitimate information that I am associated with terrorism. Random person on the internet.
Yeah, just,
Jesus.
just someone types to him like, "Dude, are you planning a terrorist attack that's gonna happen?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
dude."
bro.
Just fucking
Yeah,
states his
Lamau.
entire plan.
He,
He states his entire plan.
He just goes like, yell him out, bro.
Oof.
he went on a live stream on Instagram and showcased his guns and said that he was planning on killing Israeli protesters and like planning on blowing up Trump Tower like live on air. Like, how small brains? Like,
Why the fuck did I not know this guy before?
The
this?
children of the Lie podcasts officially condemns the actions of John.
Wrong.
No, Porky.
Wrong with Hamas.
He's
Allah
not
Akbar,
talking.
Allah Akbar,
Oh my
Allah
god.
Akbar.
But he is not speaking for us.
Okay.
I disassociate myself with
Did he just
every.
leave? Did he just leave?
I ejected him.
I disassociate with everything Porky has ever or will ever say.
Same. Just to be safe.
No, like just genuinely.
Wait. Oh my god. Wait, was he kicked? Or did he leave?
Yeah, I kicked him as a meme.
Okay, good.
I invited
Do you
him.
Okay.
guys know that subsidies aren't a long-term economic?
No one cares. No one cares. I'm the Porky now. I'm the toxic one now.
All right,
You're
let's
dumb. No one cares.
let's-
This is
let's
boring.
debate economics again, as per Porky's advice.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on androgynous
So, welcome to the Ethan
money?
and Daniel podcast,
Yes. Welcome to the
where everyone
Daniel.
else has been kicked out.
Wait, welcome to the. Holy shit! Did you actually kick him out?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, hey, Porky.
Hey Porky. Thanks for being a guest on the Ethan and Daniel podcast.
What the fuck are you guys doing?
We're, as per your request, we're debating economics.
Yeah.
Why?
No, we're not. I actually don't.
We're
like
joking.
economics.
No, I
Why
don't
the
know.
f-
I'm too tired.
Why did you kick me and Venice?
Revisionists.
You guys are just dirty fucking historical. revision.
What do you mean historical revision? Okay,
Podcast.
we just don't use Cold War history. Okay,
Okay,
Cold War
listen.
propaganda.
Okay,
is
tell
this
someone who
still
fucking
alive?
cares, you commie.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, but
listen.
actually,
Okay, shut up. Now, almost.
Venice
Oh my-
left.
This is not even funny. Okay, so
No, Venice left. I didn't kick him this time.
you know how we were talking about 9/11 and if it was morally justified.
Yeah.
Jesus
Now
Christ.
probably
mean-
the FBI agent has probably left now because he's so bored of your economic shit. We can talk about it. I'm pretty sure.
How
Okay,
funny
so
am I?
essentially,
Okay.
Porky.
FBI was not okay. Let me
Okay,
fix that.
anyone who contacts me, I can send you all of Porky's private information. I know his phone number, his pseudonym, and his full name. Essentially, what he was saying was that 9/11 was justified and that there should be more. FBI, Secretariats Police, hit me up.
He never said that there should be more. I'm just gonna back Porky up here.
He was making a theoretical argument. To be
Yeah.
fair,
He
to
was making a literal plan to commit genocide.
no, dude, no.
I'm joking.
Dude,
I'm
okay,
to be
joking.
fair,
listen, guys.
Porky was
No,
I'm
making
joking.
a very theoretical,
No, but-
thought experiment-driven argument, and I fully believe that he was not arguing that in reality it was justified or that it should have happened.
Yeah, like
Well-
no, it was nowhere serious. It was nowhere serious. Okay, I was just
Well,
I just said with that logic, the logic of depending on who you vote, you should be responsible for those actions. That 9/11 can be morally justified, right?
Well, I disagree from an objective standpoint. I disagree with 9/11 because I believe that the bourgeoisie is the enemy, not the international proletariat, which belong to other nations. And so I think that proletariat of another country carrying out acts of terrorism against the proletariat of another country because of conflicts which were driven by bourgeois democracies is counterproductive and doesn't actually hit the real targets that caused the disparity that these terrorists were trying
Shut
to
the
fight
fuck
against.
up, Venice.
International proletariat, assuming that white people can be proletariats.
Oh my god, Venice,
What?
I literally hate you.
Okay, guys,
Are you gonna
guys.
like call somebody like a cracker from your iPhone?
Guys.
Shut the hell up.
Okay, shut up. Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna go on a rant on why Western culture is bullshit. Okay,
Okay,
so
let's go.
Western culture is nothing. It means nothing. If you ask any expert on this topic, they will always say they will always say that Western culture is a meme. White culture, all this shit doesn't mean it's a meme. It's a big meme. It means nothing. When people talk about Western culture, it's 100% a dog whistle. If you see someone unironically talk about Western culture and how we need to preserve it and whatever, they are most likely fascists. They are fascists, more likely. No real person that cares about Western nations uses Western civilization, Western culture, white culture. This doesn't exist. It's a bunch of bullshit made up by
I
Nazis.
disagree with you 100%.
Yeah, you're wrong. I'm objectively right.
For example, I think that if you just looked at the current Swedish election that happened last September, you had people like Jan Björklund, who's a fucking centrist liberal, saying we need to stand up for Swedish values and European values, because I think that to him,
Yeah,
European values is
Swedish
essentially
values and European values. Is that white culture? Is that Western civilization?
that
No.
is Western civilization.
No,
that is the Western
Europe-
values of the Enlightenment. He was
That's
making a point that
European
no.
values.
What I'm just trying to
Dude,
what I was trying.
I'm talking about culture and civilizations. This is a
What do
dog
you think
whistle.
culture is?
Yeah, this is a dog whistle by Nazis.
No,
They-
Porky, you have to stop calling people Nazis, because I make that argument. I
So,
literally
okay, so-
posted a meme the other day, which is like Nazis claim they want to fight for Western civilization, yet they betray all the aspects of Western civilization.
Okay, what's Western civilization? Please explain to me. What is Western civilization? What does France and the United States and fucking Australia have in common?
Well, what they all have in common is essentially the ideas of liberalism of the Enlightenment. They stem their ideas from the social values of philosophers that came from the Enlightenment, and that is what
Okay.
Western values is.
Is Greece Western? Is Italy Western?
I think that Greece and Italy are Western, yes, but that they have slightly different. They might not necessarily be as, how do I say, enlightened as everyone else, but yeah, they're definitely Western.
But then the Enlightenment and the fucking ancient Greek ideas of democracy come from Greece and Italy.
Yeah, but I think the Western
The Roman Empire.
Well, I think that largely, but I don't necessarily disagree with the certain idea that there is some culture. I think that there might be some general culture you can arbitrarily define, but I think that this is arbitrary. I think that using this in the case of an argument is an appeal to tradition, which doesn't actually have any weight because you have to justify the tradition rather than just appealing to it
Also,
for it to be
Of
a
course.
valid argument.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that I think the tying this culture to like ethnic stuff as Nazis do is kind of ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I
Considering
agree.
in large part what people consider Western culture, the vast majority of people consider Western culture was influenced by Islamic nations and other Indian nations and stuff like that. And
Hold
so
up, what?
exactly. That's what's
What?
about my next point. My next point is there is no Western culture without the fucking Arabic world and the Indian world.
Oh yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah. So again, but
Yeah.
Nazis will use this as like, no, you don't understand. Those people, they're the other, and we're the West. Okay.
Yeah, actually in my psychology class, we're talking a lot about this. We're talking a lot about culture, acculturation, inculturation, social identity theory, social cognitive theory, and I think that while your analysis is somewhat extremely reductionist, Porky, it does hold some weight as in your critique against fascists. But I mean, like, I really disagree with your point. There's no such thing as Western civilization. There's no such thing as Western culture. I disagree with you on that point.
Yes, there is no such thing. Okay, so the United States.
Okay, well then in that case,
Shut up,
there's
shut
no
up,
such
please,
thing as
please.
culture in total.
Okay, so the United States and Germany. You stated liberalism and democracy is part of
No,
Western
I never
culture,
said democracy. I said enlightenment values.
which is liberal values.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Germany has a much more restrictive and a more authoritarian view on democracy and everything
Yeah,
than the United States.
yeah,
Does this mean that? But they're still part of the same thing, right?
yeah.
You would,
But okay.
Wait.
So
You could probably find Japan or fucking South Korea having more similarities with the United States than Britain. For
no,
example.
absolutely not. I think that, for example,
Wait. No,
your analysis is completely wrong. If you look at the culture that I'm actually from Korea, Porky. If you look at the culture surrounding Asia, we have a very different set of civilization, a set of values. And for example,
I'm talking about free speech and fucking all those laws.
yeah, definitely. If you look at, for example, Korea and Japan, we have a lot more restrictions on free speech than Germany does. And we have a lot of different views on Japan on free speech than
Yeah,
Germany
I know
does.
Japan is a
And actually, for example, if you there was a study done that was actually talking about the cultural dimensions. Cultural dimensions are essentially things like a collectivism versus individualism, materialism versus, I forgot, like spiritualism, and there was a bunch of other cultural dimensions as well. I forgot the names, to be precise, but studies literally show that there is a huge link between all the Western nations and the cultural dimensions. This shows that there is Enlightenment values shared among these Western nations. And this is just an example of how Western civilization or Western values actually do exist. We're all pretty much, to a great deal, or to, let's say, some deal, individualist. We have, almost all of us, a great deal of respect and importance to social institutions. For example, democracy and other Enlightenment, for example, institutions. We all share.
We all different views of democracy.
Yeah, of course, but then your opinion is like saying there's no such thing as Marxist ideology because no two Marxists are the same.
No, that's not what I'm arguing.
Countries are obviously different, but we share cultural dimensions.
So what white nationalists and fascists like do, which is my critique, first of all, that's why I stated, they usually use the West and Western culture as a fucking argument for basically saying all we white people, all we Western white people. But that's not true. We all have different values and things. Like, for example, the United States probably has many similarities with North African nations. Than European nations, right? We Europeans.
Wait, can you say that again?
What?
Can you say that again?
Yes, the United States probably has more similarities in North America than in what do you call them, Australia or in Europe, right? We have all different forms of views on democracy and liberalism.
I think that is inherently false and also empirically false. If you look at cultural dimensions, for example, as I mentioned before, it's actually very similar between the Western nations and very different compared to other nations that are not considerably Western.
Okay. Can I just come in? I think I have to go in a little bit, so
sure.
If you guys want to like make some closing statements or something.
Yeah, I just arguing like that. Usually, people who use Western culture and Western values or whatever just talk about white people and don't really understand anything. They don't understand that all European nations and all quote-unquote Western nations have different views of democracy and liberalism. There is no just one Western form of democracy and liberalism.
I think that again, Porky, you're... Sorry,
Frenchies and British and and Germans and whatever all have different forms of they have their own culture and views, right, on liberalism and whatever. You can't just say all of them are the same. It's the same thing as saying, okay, it's just African culture, okay, it's just Asian culture. Like, no, really, we have many differences, right? And also,
I don't think that anyone is saying that you're wrong. We're obviously all different, even to the we're all literally different into the individual level. But there are cultural dimensions that tie us together, and there are all values, and there are like moral systems that tie us together, Porky. And there are things that tie Asian nations together, and there are things that tie African nations together, and there are things that tie Western nations together. And that is just a fact.
Okay, sure, like geopolitical things, sure, but that's not like one view set of democracy and liberalism here in the West.
No one's making that argument. Not even the fascists.
What do you mean? They're making
No,
the
they're
argument
not,
of
because
us versus
fascists.
them.
Yeah, but fascists are saying that there's an us versus them. No, but fascists are saying that white people are incredibly diverse. But they're just saying that white people have to be united against, like, whatever minority group they're going after.
Yeah, but we whites have more genetic differences with each other. Like we have more differences in the in group than out group.
No, that's just factually not true.
That's true.
No, the average
Yes.
genetic difference between white people is a lot lesser than
I
what
can pull
the
up a
average
study.
genetic
I can
difference.
pull up a study.
No. Okay, so
Not a
no.
study, I don't
Okay,
know.
so essentially, between individuals within in groups, there is a lot of cases in which we're actually genetically more different. But if you look at the average genetic differences between, like, for example, let's say Japanese people and African people, like let's say South African people, there is going to be more genetic differences, obviously, because we have different ancestral roots.
No, because they made the example of if I am American and I go to fucking, I don't know, if I go to Poland, right? I would probably have more differences with Poles than if I went to like an African nation.
Okay,
We
Okay.
can discuss this after the podcast.
Sure. All right. Well, anyways, thanks for is this the 5th episode? Thanks for
Yeah.
tuning into the 5th episode of the Children of the Lie. We're gonna have our YouTube channel up and running soon, and we'll see you there next week. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Epic.
Yay.
Thank you for that, Venice. That was a nice touch.
Yay.
Venice seal of approval.